Hey, hi everyone. Why does your family still have control over you, even as an adult? Why do you feel trapped by their expectations, guilt, and manipulation, no matter how much you try to break free? If you grew up in a toxic, controlling family, you weren't just raised, you were programmed to stay stuck. But here's the truth. You don't owe them your life. You don't owe them to remain programmed. And today I want to show you exactly how to escape their control for good so you can finally be free. I'm Jerry Wise, and for over 45 years I've helped hundreds of thousands of people break free from narcissistic and dysfunctional family dynamics, reclaim their true self, and finally build a life of emotional freedom, inner peace, and healthy relationships. Also, all of these things I'm going to share today would also apply to families in which there might not be narcissists. If you just need to move away from a controlling family or move out of an unhealthy family, these things are the way to become free. So why are you still stuck after so many years of therapy and trying so many approaches and techniques to heal? And I've done all of them. I'll bet you would be surprised how many things I have done and attempted to heal myself. And I, all the way from exorcism to psychiatric treatment and everything in between. There's so many approaches and techniques. There's a place for all of those. And there is a place for all types of methods and techniques. However, if you want to become free from your family of origin programming and you grew up in a narcissistic family, then there are some specific things that need to be done. And again, one of the reasons we stay stuck is because we're still enmeshed with the family super self and the family emotional Wi-Fi. Believe it or not, an exorcism or psychiatric treatment or anything in between may not address that at all. And then we wonder why we still stay stuck. You use cause and effect thinking and individualistic thinking. You use those approaches to see the problems in your life and try to solve them. You're in the box of individualistic and cause and effect thinking versus systems thinking, which allows you to step outside the box and see more of what's going on. If you have a better map, you'll go a better direction. I remember in the Lincoln movie, a movie about Lincoln, and he's talking to Senator Thaddeus Stevens. And Thaddeus Stevens was much more of a radical than Lincoln was. And that he was trying to work with him to get the 13th Amendment passed, the Constitution. And Thaddeus Stevens was, let's just go there. And he said, but your map is not complete. And going north or south, having a compass can help you, but it doesn't tell you about the rivers, the valleys, the mountains, and the trees and the things that are in the way. We need a better map than just pointed that way and just head that way and go straight. It could be real problematic. And I think he was very wise in saying that. We want to move away from just pointing due north and go that way recovery to here's a map of what's going on. Now, what do we need to do differently? And which directions do we need to turn? We were never allowed or taught to be our real selves. And oftentimes, many treatments, conferences, workshops, while on the one hand may give good information, I'm not against anything that helps anybody if the proof is in the pudding and it's helping you. However, it may not fully teach you how to be a real self in the system. It may teach you about being a real self, but where the challenge comes is when you're being a real self in the system and all of these dynamics, pulls, pushes, emotional pressures, anxiety is all moving all at once. That may be tough to be a real self. So learning systems thinking is a way to become more of a true real self. Because actually there is no real self outside the system. We only are a self in the system. We're not islands ever. Growing up or as we become adults, we're never islands. And in fact, the family of origin programming continues on within us. If we get a hold of it and see the map, we might be able to pull out of some of the quicksand. So what do you do finally to escape your family's control and achieve the inner peace and freedom you so deeply desire? First of all, and I'm going to talk about these in general terms, but I have videos that describe them, I have programs that describe them, but these are the basics. Recognize the family superself. Your family operates as a single emotional unit that unconsciously assigns roles and controls behavior through guilt and obligation. What we want to do is observe this without engaging this. So we want to recognize the family superself. And most people cannot even tell me how their family superself operated when they were growing up or how it's operating now. And yet they're going, I want to be able to fly the 747. Well, you haven't even told me that you can fly a little Cessna. What single engine? And then they're going, I'm having such a hard time with my recovery and healing. Because we need more time in the flight simulator so that we can be truly ourselves and self-differentiated. Number 2, cut through the emotional family glue. There is a gluiness, there is a fusion, there is an enmeshment that dysfunctional families have. Family control is fueled by chronic anxiety. It's not fueled by love, and it's not fueled by health or maturity. It's fueled by guilt, fear, and responsibility, over responsibility, and these things keep you stuck. So we have to begin to learn to melt or to use glue gone or whatever that stuff is you can get chewing gum off with and gooey things, so that we can melt that glue that we have been that we grew up in our family. Number 3, stop playing emotional tennis badly. And what I mean by that is relationships are built on 2 forces, togetherness and separateness. And those things are always at work at all times in every relationship. The tennis court gives us a way to see it kind of visually. I'm on this side of the tennis court, you're on that side of the tennis court. And it's not a perfect analogy, but if we're trying to play together. A healthy relationship, I can bat the ball to you and you bat the ball back to me. What becomes a problem is if we grew up and everybody in my family and me are still on one side of the tennis court, but yet trying to play tennis. It doesn't work. And so we're playing tennis badly. So what we want to have boundaries in which they are on one side, we are on the other side, and we also don't jump over to their side, which is becoming over-functioning, codependent. That's a jump over the tennis net to their side. And that causes problems and keeps us stuck. So we want to learn that dynamic about keeping relationships balanced. And when we feel the pull that we're being pulled over to their side, and when we feel the push of them jumping over on our side. And if we can recognize that, we can begin to leverage and manage our own lives much better and without a lot of reactivity. Fourthly, we want to build internal boundaries. And basically, when I say internal boundaries, I'm generally talking about detachment. Stop absorbing their emotions and opinions. Focus on regulating yourself instead of fixing or managing them. On the tennis court, if you're fixing or managing them, worrying about their feelings, trying to make them feel better, you're over on their side of the net. Those are their feelings to deal with. You have yours. Focus on regulating you. I didn't say be heartless. I didn't say have no empathy. I didn't say that at all. I'm saying have those things, but focus on self, not on others. Stop being so other focused. Now, of course, we want to say, well, we don't want to be selfish. Of course, we don't want to be selfish. That's a value. It's a very important one. And it's a personal value, even of mine. However, I want to differentiate between selfishness and selfhood. Being a self is not the same thing, and focusing on self is not selfish. It's called maturity. And we use that self to interact with other people in a healthy way. That can be compassionate, it can be sacrificial, it can be loving and caring, but we have to develop us so that we can function well. Fifthly, expect resistance and hold your ground. They will push back when you change. Stay neutral, calm, and firm in your decisions. And you can practice doing that. There's also 3 stages of resistance that we want to accept and persevere through, and then the pressure tends to go down if we can stay with it long enough. Many times we give up right before the pressure starts to be released. And then we give up and say, oh, well, they just were too much trouble, and you didn't make it another week or two, and then they go, well, you might be right. Or they just start behaving a little differently because they don't want to lose you. They're enmeshed with you too, and they don't want to lose you, even if they're a narcissist. They don't want to lose you because you're their supply. You have some leverage. Number 6, stop expecting them to change them for you, and don't change you for them. And I think that's very important. We want to let go of our fantasy and expectations of who they should be, ought to be. We romantically think they should have been in a fantasy world. If your parents, your mother, your father were not all that loving, then don't look to them as an adult for lovingness. Look to you, because you're the adult now. You're taking care of your inner child. You're taking care of you, not them taking care of you. If they apologize, if they're remorseful, all the more wonderful. But that doesn't fix you until you start taking over that role. 7, focus on self-differentiation. I use that term a lot. And what do I mean by self-differentiation? Self-differentiation, simply put, and there's a lot to it, but simply put, it's being who you are, truly are, and not absorbing the toxicity, feelings, beliefs, and etc., the system dynamics of the system, while staying connected in some emotional way. I didn't say being best friends. But I don't have to cut off. I don't have to run away. Self-differentiation allows me to have firm calmness, a firm sense of self, knowing where I need to say no, leaving when I need to leave, sharing with someone how I feel and what I need or want. That's kind of self-differentiation talk. It's self-awareness, systems awareness, self-regulation, emotional and mental regulation, and self-definition. All of those things are a part of self-differentiation. They're all learnable. Trust me, if I can learn it, you can learn it. If you knew me 40 years ago, you would not even know who I was. And I also had no thoughts that I would ever be any different. I was just stuck. Everything in my life was based on guilt and shame. I mean, that was just who I was, sadly, which still is a pseudo-self. It's not even a real self. I'm programmed to have that self. If you're ready to finally break free and build a life filled with emotional freedom, inner peace, and healthy relationships, join my free training today. Over 30,000 people have taken this training and used it to build a strong, confident sense of self, free from guilt, control, and manipulation. Click the link below and get started. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you'll never miss a video that comes out weekly. I want to thank you for watching. Have a great day and be wise.